Yeah, we are.
Welcome everybody to another Gloves Off. Your favorite podcast you might not even know about yet, but
Ooh.
I mean it's true, man. I feel like we've come a long way in this time. It's been a couple years. What did we say? 2 years last week, something like that. It's been
I
a long.
just I remember I don't remember what the exact number was. I just remember being shocked at what the number was. It was just ridiculous. Like I can't believe we've been doing this
It's
for
been
this
a
long.
Yeah, and it started off so like honestly, it looks a lot like it did when I started, but it has gotten significant upgrades, including the fact that you could see us in live time and we could talk to you and look at you and tell us everything we think about gaming, and bring in a little bit of us being human to the podcast, which is nice. So, the camera
Yeah.
technology is pretty new, but anyways, I do digress. We got kind of a full docket today, and just two of us today. Hazmat and I talking about all things gaming as always. A little less Smash centric, probably still due for a logo change, and but still a whole lot of discussion on a lot of gaming topics, things that came up over the week, including whether time spent on gaming is wasted or not, including the influx of tabloid content that we see all across social media, YouTube, all those things, a whole bunch of it, a lot
hmm
of rumor mills, and GOML Online. So bringing it back to Smash at some point because it's worthwhile. But has yeah, man, I know we've been talking about it a little bit before we went in the call. Where do you want to jump in today?
Hell yeah, dude. I think the order that we have it in the Google Doc, the order you just read it in is the right way to go, man. You got to talk about. I think the Joe Rogan podcast is the easiest way to jump in. So I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're a podcast guy too. I mean, we're doing a podcast, but you've listened to Joe
Oh
Rogan a good
yeah,
amount,
man.
right? It's like, I like him. I like the guy. I like kind of his show, and like he's a very successful podcast. I think the most successful podcaster at this point,
Dude, I
right?
would I would say definitely.
Yeah, like pretty easily. So he definitely knows a thing or two about a thing or two, and he definitely can we roll the clip? Is that
Absolutely.
possible? All right, let me see
Absolutely.
here.
Yeah, because I do have that. Yes. All right, cool. So yeah, this was a clip just a couple days ago, actually. It was him talking to Joe DeSena, who I'm actually not sure who that is, but the thing is I think it's like keeping these videos in mind. It's like these are just like your everyday men, basically, and that's what makes a Joe Rogan podcast like.
The normies.
Yeah, dude, but it's a good thing because they're covering
It is.
basically it's very mansplainy. And whatever your opinion on mansplaining is, he has a very good podcast at that. And within that, there came up the topic of gaming, whether the time spent on it is wasted, as I mentioned, and basically the generation of kids growing up in this. Because you and I both know, as people within the gaming career, that's the wave, man, and every kid wants to do it. So with that in mind, here is the
Yeah.
clip.
You find that thing.
Yeah, I've never been
Oh
that
no, I
kid
can't hear
though.
it.
I've always been into things. I was into art, or I was
I
into
don't think there's any
something.
volume.
I always found
Check
things
out
that
in
I was
Discord.
interested
You
in.
might
Just
have to
none of them
unmute
seemed
the.
like they were
I'll
normal
pause for a
things.
second. Try and unmute
Yeah.
the browser window I'm sharing. That might be muted. I'm gonna try and play. Let me know.
Things that other people
Yeah,
wanted
there's
to
two
do for a
windows.
living, like the path,
Neither of them
like
are
a career
muted.
path. But I
Interesting.
think that there's a
Well, that
lot
kinda
of
throws a
people
wrench in the
that
plan,
don't
doesn't
have
it?
any.
It
There's no
does.
one.
Give me
They're,
one
they're
second.
not
I'll see if I can figure
modeling
this out. Because maybe
their
my
life
Discord
after.
settings got messed up when the headsets are right. We had it before.
Yeah, that's
You know what I
okay.
can do? You know what I can do? Why don't you just send me the link? We'll pop it open at the same time, and then we'll
There
just
we
do it
go.
old school.
Now we're thinking. Let me
Oh,
see. Yeah, that is the old school way. It's funny because this was definitely working beforehand. But anyways, there we go. There's the link. You let me know when you get started, and I'll roll clip.
I got Discord so cautious whenever you open a link. Like, hold up, are you sure you want to click on YouTube.com? It's like, oh yeah, I think that one should be okay. All right, I'm working through this ad.
Oh yeah, man. Add.
All right.
Oh,
All right,
ready?
I'm at the zero. I'm at zero. I'm at the first second, but
All right.
whatever. I'm at zero. I'm at zero zero.
All right.
You count me
Ready?
in.
All
Three.
right.
Say go. So 3, 2, 1, go.
All
Ready?
right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Monkeys.
I don't know if you agree with this. There were a ton of kids along the way growing up as I was building my business that would say, "Oh, I'm not into this. I'm not into that." Kind of like you described yourself.
Yeah.
And they don't do anything because they're
Right.
looking for that thing. And I would argue, do something. Do fucking something until you find that
I agree.
thing.
Yeah, I've never been that kid though. I've always been into things. Was into art, or I was into something. I always found things that I was interested in. Just none of them seemed like they were
mostly
normal things that
weed.
other people wanted to do for a living. Like
Yeah,
the
dude,
path,
that's
like a career path.
everybody hits that. At
But I
least
think
anybody
that
who's
Dude,
smoked
he-
once.
a
no,
lot
he-
of
he
people
loves
that
pot.
don't have
Oh, yeah,
any-
dude, that's, like,
there's
part
no
of his
one-
brand.
They're not modeling their life after someone that they see that they admire, someone that's successful, someone that is doing something that they enjoy and love. Sometimes kids have to see that. And if their
That's
parents
true.
are living a bullshit life and their
That's true.
neighbors are living a bullshit life and most of their
Bro,
family lives a
real
bullshit
issues,
life,
dude.
they
This is
just
all real,
fucking
I
lay
agree.
around, you know, and then they seek
It's so
refuge
true.
in drugs or video games or something that stimulates
Okay, hold on.
them.
All right,
Video
pause.
games
All
are a
right,
real
all right,
problem.
hold on.
All right, pause.
He jumped pretty quick right there.
Yeah.
Like, it went from like he really painted a shitty picture and then pulled a lot into
So-
it, especially because we're talking about how he loves weed, dude. And I feel like everything he's saying about games right now could easily be attributed to his love of marijuana.
Yeah,
right? No?
well, so this is the thing. It's not even just that. Like, beyond the character of Joe Rogan and things and the vices he takes, I feel like the things he's saying could be said about anything. And we kind of talked about this a little bit before the show, where it's really your intent going into anything that determines whether it's a waste of time or not. Because there's that old what's that old saying? It's just like, time enjoyed, time spent waste, or basically any time enjoyed is never wasted. Basically, something like that. I'm butchering.
Yeah.
It.
And well, even that I think comes down to life philosophy, because I think a lot of people disagree with that. Like, just because you're having a good time doesn't mean you shouldn't be doing other things instead.
So,
it's interesting.
Well,
I'm not saying that's me. I'm saying I think he might say that. You know,
right?
What I mean?
Well, it goes on with the whole pressure of you have to be productive in the world. Like you know what I mean? Like, it's saying like your time needs to be spent doing something in particular, whether it be for societal expectation or to give something back. But in reality, that's not how it goes, man. People have all kinds of vices. Even if you're scrolling your social media feeds, or even if you're watching this as a clip at one point on like your Twitter or Facebook feed, like this is kind of how media is shared now, right? And that's just as addictive as something like a video game. It's literally just what stops and captivates you. But anyways, we're digressing. Let's jump back to the clip. I'm gonna go ahead and
I'm at 11:11. Count me in.
All right, let's go. 3, 2, 1, go.
They're a real problem. You know why? Because they're fucking fun.
Addictive.
And you don't. Yeah,
They are fun.
I have a real
And
problem
addictive.
with them. And
They are
you,
addictive.
You do them, and they're real exciting, but you don't get anywhere.
Right.
It's like you could do
Debatable.
like martial arts, right? You could
That
learn
is-
jujitsu.
I hate this
You
example
get
too, by the
obsessed
way.
by jujitsu.
Yeah, I could
And
go
then
off on
3
this, and I
years
will
later,
after.
you're like an elite jujitsu athlete. You're entering in
Timeout.
competitions
Pause right there.
Alright,
Immediately.
move.
Immediately, just pause.
Yep.
Why is it so? Okay, so you went from you sign up to do jujitsu, now suddenly you're an expert. That just like. What the fuck? What
Well,
are you talking about?
he
That's not-
said-
that happens to maybe. How many people sign up, take a jujitsu class, and never show up
Well,
again, or like it casually? Like it just never happens.
His thing was like, you spend time on it, you get a marked improvement, you've been in it for a few years, and all of a sudden you're like into it, which is very common in fitness. There's a lot of times you'll see someone who started off maybe a little overweight or a little small or something, where they totally transformed their body and they found the ways that work for them, and they decide, I want to do this as a business now. And I think that's what he's trying to articulate. But the problem with that immediate argument, and I know we're picking them apart immediately, but that's the whole point. But it's like that's
Dude,
true
he
of
started
anything.
He started it, bro.
It's
I
true.
feel that.
It's true. But that's the thing, is like you could say that with anything, right? You spend time on something, you decide you like it, you could decide to go. Like, there's literally people starting up gaming orgs now. There is a question on legitimacy of certain gaming orgs, but that is another digression in the conversation. But it's still taken to a context. I do think that in this particular example that we will go back to, there's like another few, like 2 or so minutes to this clip, is like, I feel like video games get thrown under the bus. And I think that's just, and that's kind of the sad part about it. I don't even think he did it on purpose. I think it sounds like he has a bad relationship with video games, because it's easy to, man. I mean, how many times have you spent a day where you're just like, dude, I played a game all day, maybe I should have did something else? Because it does
especially
happen.
right now. Especially right now, bro.
Yeah. When
I don't think, like, I appreciate the idea behind his message. You know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely appreciate that, and it's true for a lot of things. Like, it's true that like a lot of people don't have, and it's not necessarily about the thing. There are some things that are better than others. Like, if you're running and working out a ton, that's probably a little bit better than sitting around and doing nothing all day.
Oh,
you know what I
way
mean?
better,
Like,
dude.
it's gotta be better for you as a human, but it's not for everyone. Like, some people try that and they just hate it. You know what I mean? It's just not. It's complicated. Humans are complicated. If everyone liked working out, everyone would just be walking around super jacked and like, in shape. Like, what an interesting, kind of. It's not like that though, or not everyone likes games either.
Well,
You know what I'm
it's
saying?
so multifaceted, man, because it's the intent in which you spend your time, and you can go into working out basically saying, hey, I want to get jacked, ripped, shredded, yoked, whatever word, or just lose some weight, whatever the case may be. You could go into gaming saying, I want to make this marked improvement in this ranked match. I want to, and I think what's happening is within that, that is being valued as a waste of time. But they're going to talk about this in a minute in terms of like being successful, because that's a big mark, because with Twitch being how it is and everything being how it is, like people are making money on games, and that is something that intrigues a lot of people. And there's so many parents out there that, you know, they don't know a lot about games, or maybe they do, but they see the numbers too. They see the news articles where it's just like, hey, here was this Fortnite tournament and there was, you know, tens of thousands of dollars on the line, and then that parent's just like, wow, that's crazy. And they don't really get it outside of that.
Is this a lot different than like really enjoying and liking UFC and not just like chalking up all the negative points of it? Like you join, you just get brain damage, then you're a loser and like you can't do anything, and it's like, whoa, like what happened? Like there's a lot of there's a lot of positive and negatives to all these things. You know what I mean? Like, is being a football player really that much better? You go in and bash your head against someone else's for 18 years, and that's considered, you know, some sort of honorable or very American, you know, thing to do. But like, dude, there's, like you said, there's a plus and minus to everything. Like, sure.
Well, it's just so multifaceted. It's so hard to bottom line and say that, hey, this is a waste of time or not. But let's get back to the clip, because I want to finish out, because there's several points I'm just ready to hit.
I'm at 134. I don't know about
134. All right. You start, and then I'll start.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Moving up.
Yeah. You're doing well. You're thinking like, I might be able to open my own school one day.
You got confidence.
Yeah, if I have 100
what's the percentage of people who open gyms after they reach a level of jiu-jitsu? Like, does that happen a lot?
Holy shit, I can have a
some people might train.
And then
maybe.
You see your jiu-jitsu school, and your jiu-jitsu instructor has all these students and drives a Mercedes, and he's got a nice family, and like that's the future.
You just made all that shit up.
Something exciting.
That's
and
that
fun,
sort of like,
or you could just be playing fucking video games. 3 years
that
later, you could be that
like
same
that
kid
life.
just playing video games, waiting for the next whatever the fuck game is.
You could.
Xbox game.
This is possible. You could also just be a guy who took jiu-jitsu class and it didn't amount to any personal gain. You know what I mean? Or any like financial. Like the picture he described is, I feel like, not average for the average person that tries jiu-jitsu.
It's specific
are now
to something.
saying, Dad,
you drive a Mercedes Benz
with this video game.
I'll pause it real quick.
He's a man.
The last thing I thought when like you're a jiu-jitsu trainer, it's like, oh, he drives a Mercedes Benz and has a nice family. Like where did these things come from? Like what the heck?
That seemed like it was kind of a leap.
That was a reach, bro.
It
like,
feels specific of an example. Yeah,
exactly.
I think this is one of those cases Joe Rogan got caught on a bit of a rant, because the thing is, it's all right. So I'll introduce this because there's not that much left to the clip. The reality is this: nothing's really a waste of time unless like you're literally just melted in it and your mind is totally on focus on it, and there's nothing happening there. Like you're literally just melting away, which sometimes isn't bad, but it's kind of one of those things where if you're
escapism is what you're saying.
Right? That's exactly what I'm saying. So escapism, that's a thing, and I think that should be acceptable because it's living in the modern.
It's dangerous though.
So it is dangerous, and it is very dangerous, and I think that's what he's discussing, because video games, it's an easy way to do that. It's easy to absorb into them and get lost and not do anything. And I think when it becomes a problem is when your gaming impedes on something you're supposed to be doing just for your either survival or for just betterment that you're neglecting because you're stuck on the time of addiction of playing video games, because that is a real issue too.
It's almost like, and I agree with you, because he's almost complimenting games in the beginning. He's like, they are so fun, they are so cool, like all this shit, which is cool. But his problem isn't with like games suck or whatever. It's that people fall down this rabbit hole with them commonly, which it is true. Like that definitely does happen. But I mean, you could say the same thing about like being a fan of like NASCAR or some shit. So like just all you do, you know, you could do with like almost anything that's a recreational activity. I feel like it's because there's a slight generational gap. Like, so it's easier to like point and blame it because it's like you don't really understand it or whatever.
Well, I think that's definitely part of it. And I also think that it's that confusion of, oh, I'm doing something productive or active, because you could work out to an unhealthy amount too. The amount of people I've known in my time who would work out for like 3-4 hours a day, and you could even see it in their body shape. Like they can't keep up with it between the food and diet. It's like, that's when it becomes unhealthy. Like you're choosing to work out above like, doing something else you could do. It's the same kind of idea.
I think this is where we really overlap, is that it's not really about the thing that you do. It's about the balance that you have. You know what I mean? And I think this does go down to the Smash scene too. That's why it's like damn Smashers, like typical Smashers, you know, like didn't shower. All you care about is playing friendlies, like didn't sleep, didn't brush your teeth. Like all you did
you're dead
play
on.
friendlies and you went way too far. You be a Smasher and like have normal shit going on. Like that's a choice. The chances of you being like a pro or like a really, really high level one is like pretty low, just because if you're not sitting there, we talked about this before. We talked about this like the last couple episodes. If you're not sitting there playing for like 8 hours a day, you're probably not going to make it as a pro. Or at least thinking about the game, or at least having high quality hours of time played which is fine too, as long as you do other things too. Like, this is something I
Balance.
really appreciate about Tweak's Twitter, Tweak and B specifically. Like they go on walks, like they post that on social media, like they do things, you know, outside of the game. They love games, like that's their main thing. But I love that they do things outside of them too. And I think everyone struggles if you really like games to try to find that balance. Like, what is a healthy balance for you and for your, and for me too, like your partner and, your work-life balance and all that other stuff. And sometimes for me, it's like I have, X amount of hours I can devote to games. And then once that's that. And that's it. So it's like, if I'm not playing Smash, like if that means I can't play Smash for the day and I spent it playing other games, Dota or whatever, it is what it is.
Yeah,
Only so many hours in a day, man.
Yeah, and there's a lot to gaming in terms of like what you can get out of it with the time spent.
Mhm.
But I'll save that for the moment. We got about another minute and a half on this clip.
Yeah, let's
Let's rip through it because he says some stuff that I think it's kind of important in the rest. So
I'm at 2:30. Let me know when you hit 2:30.
I am there. So let's start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Like, that's 1 in a billion, kid.
I don't know if it's 1 in a billion, but look, I heard the same argument about comedy. My own parents were
This
like,
is the
how
point.
few
I like
people
this
make it
point.
as a comedian. I was like,
This is
okay.
good, yeah.
Does anybody make it? Somebody makes it, right? They figure out how to do it. They make a living.
And
I'm
you're
going to
gonna
do
do
that.
that.
Just stop. Like, I know what I'm doing. I was real lucky that my parents were not around very much, so I didn't get much advice. So I figured it out myself. So there was no one telling me I couldn't do it.
Got it.
Didn't his parents say you couldn't?
Greenfields.
I
Yeah,
just
that's what
I
he
was
said.
like, I'm gonna find my way
You
through
just went in a
this.
circle
And
there.
since no one's telling me it's impossible, no one's telling me I can't. Occasionally, I would hear someone say, "What are the odds?"
I think that's the difference just
This
between
fucking
being old
loser.
and being young,
That's
man.
my thought was always
That's
like, that guy's a
true.
loser.
Where you
Like,
spend
if
your
you think
time.
like that, you're a loser. But there are kids that make a lot of
Yeah.
fucking money
Right,
playing
video
video games. But the thing is, like,
Yep.
you have to be adaptable. You have
Oh,
to be
that's
able
not
to play
true.
multiple video games because the one video game that you get really good at,
Uh,
what are the
really
odds that's
fucking
gonna go
good,
around
actually.
5 years from now.
Right.
Like, what's the big one now?
No, not
Like
Fortnite, you
is that-
dummy.
do they make
That's
money
streaming.
off
That's
that?
this is
different.
right.
Yeah.
He's so
And then there's,
misinformed
he's
here.
on
Call of
boomer
Duty.
stuff
They
at the
make money
moment.
off
He's
that.
showing his age.
What's
Yeah.
the
showing his
big one?
age.
StarCraft.
He
used to be
brings
How
up
long people been
StarCraft.
playing Dota for?
Legends.
StarCraft.
He's in StarCraft.
Counter-Strike.
Actually, Counter-Strike's a great example against what he said because everyone still plays whatever fucking version from 10 years ago.
Yep.
Same exact game.
They don't make money
Quake?
off Quake though, right? Not really.
Nah, really.
No.
One or two guys make money off of Quake.
Yeah. See,
This is a big
you
part
gotta
of the
pick
issue
the right game.
we're seeing right now.
You could be
And
obsessed
Yeah,
when
this
with
is
the wrong
definitely-
you're
game.
gonna spend,
The information is just
5
not
Yeah,
there.
I
hours a
agree with
day.
that though. The
have
10
to.
hours a day in
You
the
have
house.
to.
Okay, yeah. So he's definitely a little misinformed, and I think he's open to knowing that too. Like he admits that though. You know what I mean? No more ads. Stop it, YouTube. And some of his points are right. Like you do have to be like in that 1%, but to his other point, like he took a gamble like that and it really worked out. And I think he acknowledges that. I don't think he's being completely ignorant here. And I think he does
I don't
have
think
good
so.
points. And I hate to say it, but I think he has some good points too.
He
A lot of people
does.
don't balance that shit well, and it's something you need to at least be aware of and defend yourself against. You know,
It's easy to take an extreme opinion on this because there's one of two perspectives that'll give you a extreme opinion on this. Either you spend a lot of time on gaming and you feel the need to defend the fact that like I'm not wasting time, this is that,
Yeah.
or I could do this, and then there's the other standpoint where you don't spend any times on games, and then you're just like, well, my time is obviously better spent here, and I'm not gaming, and this is where I'm
Yeah.
at. And then there's like this clashing sort of thing that happens. And
Yeah.
the problem is somewhere in the middle, just like everything else, there is a balance that we were just talking about. And the things that you get from gaming are varied. We already talked about escapism. Some people
Mhm.
are using it as a career. I do agree that's rare. He said, the one guy said 1 in a billion. Joe Rogan even corrected him on that. That's when he went into the whole comedy thing. And he's right. It's like being an actor.
He had a stance, and he, to be fair, admitted when he was pretty ignorant on stuff. Well, kind of. He should have done it a little bit more, but at the same time, he doesn't know, so whatever. But at the same time, he did defend it when he could, saying, games are really fun and he gets it. But I do think his point about people falling into the sinkhole of just logging in and playing games and that's it. I think there's just more, and I don't even judge that really too much. Like whatever, if that if things make you happy, and that's great. But I do think there's more to be seen in the world, and there's more to being a well-rounded human being than just logging in and making that your whole life.
Well, you're right, and that's the way it should be. The thing
It's
is,
how anything is. Like if all you want to do is talk about MMA, or all you want to do is talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, and that's all. Like, spend all your vacation time going to Pittsburgh Steelers pre, like that's all you do. That's your life.
And that's
like
a big crowd. What about the people who show up in full body paint to NFL games every single Sunday?
Absolutely.
Like is that any worse than, you know, booting up Dota, Smash, anything on a Sunday and spend a few hours? Not really. It's just it's where you value your time, and within that time, there's several things that could happen. You could escape for a bit. You could actively try and get better at something, and then that's the cool part about video games, especially competitive ones, is there's like a marked level of improvement that you could sort of see results, and that gives you something to strive for. There's no barrier to entry on that. It's not like you're trying to play football and you're just like, I'm not big enough, or I'm not fast enough, or I can't play anymore because like there's no, you know, it's none of that.
Well, even there, then, like I would say, team sports, especially and esports as well. There's so many lessons you learn, not just from the game, not just how to hit a curveball or how to do a perfect input shuriken or whatever. Like those are important skills, and that teaches you like determination, perseverance, hand-eye coordination skills, like all this shit. And there's a supreme reward to the end of that. They're saying you're not doing anything, but I think mentally, as a human, if you're growing and trying to figure things out, and it's kind of like saying like a Rubik cube is a waste of time. You know what I mean? And it is, but at the same time, people are kind of impressed by that shit. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty cool that your hands can do this complex thing and figure out this complex problem. And your brain too. Like it definitely has changed the way that I see.
Oh yeah.
And I was just saying earlier in our pregame banter, because of esports, I feel insanely comfortable with my public speaking skills. I used to be so scared to hop on the mic just because I'd never done it before. I didn't know what to say or do. But since I did it with something that I'm just really like and passionate about and enjoy in Smash, it was an easy thing to translate into, a real life skill where I talk to people for my job and all that stuff. So it's all about, I think the transferable skills are just, I think that's where both regular sports or regular sports or otherwise esports, whatever you want to say, that's kind of where it goes over. So yeah, I think playing games and all that shit is cool. And same thing with anything else. If it's your obsession, then I'm not gonna like I said, if you're like the biggest Pittsburgh Penguins fan or Pittsburgh Steelers fan or whatever, and you have a man cave that's 18 jerseys that you spend $4,000 on, like I'm not gonna judge you or whatever. Like that's cool, but at the same time, it's like it's not any different in my opinion. It's not any different than are you really achieving anything by going to or watching all these college football games or whatever? No, of course you're not.
You don't always need to achieve. That's the thing, and that's like a big problem with society. And I've fallen for this all the time. Like
absolutely.
Like you go into something and you think you have to be productive or you think you have to do stuff, and the reality is there is some truth to that. There is some contribution that you as an individual living in this world, you have to contribute to the world to get something back from it. And in this case, it's literally just being able to live and be comfortable. Like you work a job, you make your money, and then after that, like you've contributed towards that company that's doing a thing, whatever company's missions or visions are, and then after that, like that's your time. There's no right or wrong way to spend it. Like you enjoy.
There are certainly wrong ways to spend it.
So there's wrong, but even that, like
I just took it extremely. People like crime. I'm talking about crime.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess there's actively. Actively, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, ways to
objectively wrong ways. Or incorrect or.
Yeah, like you could spend your time doing bad things. It's the same as you could spend your time doing good things. And there are things that carry that good weight. Like if you spent an hour today working out, and good for you, you should feel good about that. But in that ends, like that doesn't mean your next hour needs to be spent working out. But the fact that you worked out is good. So now if you play games, like that's the balance. That's the whole point. And then you spend time on eating, and then you spend time on like tidying up your room, doing your laundry, and like that's the exchange we all have. We all have money, we all have time. And those are literally what we base everything off of, money and time. So in the sense of wasting time, like that's a independent thing. And there are people making careers out of gaming. And I think that like even gaming, it's sort of like that entry level into just modern day, just like work in general, because like content creation and production and all these things.
Dude, people learn how to be video editors, how to interact with people in chats and like set goals. Like streaming is not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. No. It's very socially draining, and like it looks easy because the people, they want you to be at ease when you watch them. It'd be like saying, being a late night show is easy. You just invite celebrities up and have a ton of laughs and that's it. It's like, whoa, that seems like a lot of pressure. What the hell are you going to say to these people?
Say something funny.
Yeah, exactly. It's not easy to do that. It's entertainment, man. It's all of it's entertainment. And entertainment is always in the grand scope and grand scheme of humanity, insanely important thing, especially right now. I mean, right now is a huge time for people
that's the
needing
thing.
entertainment.
There
There's
is
value to it.
very much value, and the thing is like that time in which people could get together and spend time and sit next to one another and do anything productive and socialize. That isn't a thing right now. And this is just what you're saying. Like now is a time for that. And modern day, just everything, like everything now happening. Live streaming is not a fad. That is literally the wave of the future. That's the wave of content and content creation. And that is one of those things that gaming's like a doorway into that. It's just something to work around it, because I could tell you right now, education is going to look a lot different in a lot of years. We don't even know if school's going to be open with COVID at this point in September. So you think about all the online stuff and the way people correspond online, like gaming is an entryway into
it's such a big opportunity. Dude, it's funny you say that, because I have a buddy whose job it is, he works at a software company. He does training for like, all of the people that are using the software. So he does these big seminars, and he's been asking me, he's like, can I ask you how you set this up on Twitch, or how you set this up? Like, what software do you use? What green screen do you use? What camera do you use? Like, how do you do this? How do you do that? I'm like, I have all these answers. Like, I just have them because I fucked around on a computer because I was just interested in streaming. And how to mess with sound. How do you get a nice mic? Like, where do you position it? Where do you do all this shit? Like, what sounds good, what doesn't? It's great.
So let's talk about the end of people who have no interest in streaming, right? Let's just say you don't want to do anything production. You don't really give a crap to stream. None of that means anything to you. You're not looking to make a career, but you still dump a lot of hours on games. Now, my thought to that is this. A video game, especially modern day, not even modern day. We're talking like, I don't know, think about like Chrono Trigger we're just talking about. That's an old school RPG made, I don't know, when was that, 96? Something like that, in that ballpark, in the 90s.
We're old, bro.
We are old. We don't got to talk about that.
That's all right.
But anyways, so you think about that. You think about this. First of all, it's a game with hundreds of hours of gameplay in it. And when I say that, it's to see everything within that game. And there's multiple endings in that. There's multiple ways to take in the story. And what makes this amazing, what I'm driving at, is there's no wasting time in that. That's literally like every game, it's literally just like a simulation. Like it's like an empathy machine. You jump in, you're piloting the role of some character in some immersive world that was put together by all these people doing all kinds of, between the art direction, the music composition, the actual gameplay, and then like marketing the game like that. Think about how much like human capital went into that game that is now being distributed to get across any kind of message. Like I know a lot of modern day games catch a lot of flack because sometimes they're missing that message, or it's the same reason I'm not going to rant about Last of Us because I've heard mixed reviews and I haven't actually played it. But what I will say, a lot of things get caught in that just media zombie culture and are just supposed to look flashy. But in reality, there's a lot of good games out there with a lot of depth.
It's like saying. And games, that's like the interesting thing about games. It's like calling a movie like not worth time, like because you just have to watch a movie. You can learn a lot from movies, man. You can learn a lot from books or any other media. And like you said, great examples of Chrono Trigger, which is just it's a story and all that stuff, and Last of Us 2, which can teach you kind of things in games. But it's a little different because I feel like if you're not doing the thing in real life, like you might be able to do the math and like figure out how to problem solve electronically, which can help in the real world. But I feel like there might be a little more disconnect there. But I think since gaming is such a broad category, you know what I mean? Like it's between I'm playing this game for the story, or I'm playing this game for the competition, or I'm playing it for this or that. It's such a broad and vast genre, and it has so many different varying degrees of. That's why it reminds me of film. Like you can get so many different things out of it. Some movies you watch just for fun, and there's documentaries that you watch for information and knowledge. And I feel like gaming is kind of the same way. Like there's just so many different ways to experience and feel things through games. So it's complicated, dude. Like we already dove like 18 levels deeper than where
because think about how much time we spend on gaming, and this is sort of goes back to the thing I said, like you're going to take a defensive stance if you spend time on gaming. And the thing is, I don't mean to be defensive as much as like because I see his point.
Oh yeah, I think the same thing, man. I think he definitely has some points. I think if you got offended at that, you might be one of those people that falls into that category. Because I feel like if you don't, you're like, yeah, that's right. Like you need to do other things than just,
you gotta live a life.
And honestly, and that's not judgment. Like I'm not gonna judge anyone because I love games the next person. But I think everybody agrees. Like the most likes I have on social media are when people don't It's usually, there's a lot of cool Smash stuff and like cool game stuff, but when people do things in real life, I think that's great. Like I know, damn it, the first thing I thought of was I got a great haircut and like I'm feeling good. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll tell you, like that's great. You like went out and you did something. I think that's interesting to see, even though I'm mostly here for Smash stuff or video game stuff. I'm like, that's great. Like you're a human, like that's really cool. Not that playing games doesn't make you human, but you know what I mean.
No, totally, man. And the thing is this is, as I mentioned, it's no fad. It's not going anywhere. And if anything, just more people are going to get into it. I feel like gaming is still like a little baby when you think about it, because I don't know, we're going back to 70s, 80s when the first consoles are coming out, Atari and all that stuff. So, you're now spanning generations that sort of were introduced to it to now generations that are growing into it. There's so much experience to be had in an individual game, and just like a movie that you already mentioned, some movies suck and some movies don't have a lot to offer you. Some of it's empty calories, just like there's some games like that, and then there's some games that just offer you so much. They offer you a lot of perspective. They offer you a lot of time just to spend comforted from just honestly, especially in a time like right now, just being outside of your own mind. That escapism thing, I think, comes off as a bad term, but it's really not. I think escapism
it can be, but
be
it's like anything else, like in moderation.
Totally, yeah. Because that's it. The bottom line is, so this always goes down to balance. You got to be balanced. Like there's nothing wrong with enjoying the things you enjoy, and I do think that we're catching Joe Rogan a little bit on like a rant type of thing, but I do think that this topic's important because it comes up all the time, and there's so many people growing up sort of idolizing and sort of really enjoying gaming, and there's still that huge disconnect with parents being like, do I really want my kid doing this? Like, is this good? I don't know. He seems pretty happy, but it's all he does. And again, more balance on that.
And I get it, and I feel like there's gonna be something for the next generation that our generation doesn't understand, and it kind of comes back to a conversation you and I have a decent amount, where it's like parents typically, if you get, and this goes back to the beginning of their conversation, if you ended up with some decent parents, they're just concerned, you know what I mean? And sometimes that turns into they want to be protective and they don't want you to fall down the wrong path. And if they don't understand something and they're working a full-time job and they have a hard time fully grasping and understanding what you're doing, their immediate knee-jerk reaction might be, I don't really like this. I don't know if that's something you want to do or if I want you to do, because it's not something I'm very familiar with. So it makes sense, man. It happens every generation. There's always something that the current generation has and they grow up with, so it's normal, and then the old generation sees it and goes, I don't know about this, like whether it's TV or movies or anything like that. It's just, and I feel like things need to grow too. Like it takes a while for them to really hit a stride and be where they are today. Like with games, like you said, we started with the Atari, maybe spinning around and like learning the patterns in Pac-Man might not be like a huge kind of, like I don't know the skills you really learn there aside from identifying patterns.
Yeah, you flex on an arcade machine, might test some like kind of reactionary type of thing, which you're bringing up a whole point I didn't even mention, because there's so many studies on basically just your hand-eye and your overall development. Even if you're older, it helps you kind of I have to find specific studies. I hate referencing things that I can't give you immediately, but basically effects on things like dementia or just sort of just your brain melting. Like games basically do something to your neuroplasticity that allows your mind to basically process things a little better because you're actively do things. Like being in front of a TV, there's no interaction outside of you just visualizing and taking it.
TV's worse.
TV's
I would
bad,
say, than games.
especially
There's
modern day TV.
interaction.
Modern day TV is.
And again, I mean, now we're kind of just punching down like how it happened to games, but I think, and you can watch, like, what about documentaries? Like, what about really good?
So that's good. There is good content out there, There's good content.
Games, man.
Exactly. There's good games or bad games, and games I think should just be considered content like anything else. It's made by a bunch of people, all trying to give you an experience, and those experiences, they shape people. It's like anything else, like whatever's in your mind, whatever you're going through a role of Cloud Strife and Final Fantasy, and I don't want to do any spoilers, but you're meeting this character, that character. Meanwhile, you identify as this, but you find out you're that, and you go through that ride. That sounds like a wild story, but like emotionally, like this is why everything at Popular, it deals with people. There's actually a book called Riveted that I really like, and it basically discusses this whole thing where all the popular stories, all the popular media, if you go through a museum and you look through all of the paintings feature a person or something human. And it's because us as humans, when we are trying to understand things or look at things, we basically identify as them. And so even in a painting, when you're seeing a setting, like you'll see like those Campbell soup paintings, or like the painting of like a fucking number 2 pencil. But then there's also the paintings that are like the Mona Lisa, or like, then you get the sculptures that are like, whatever. And those are people, and those people are meant to captivate a certain type of thing. Like gaming's the same thing, and live streaming is a little different. So you got all these kids kind of coming in, basically delivering their gameplay now with their face, which is a future that is very real. And I think over time it'll have I think with time and with some of the right attention, that'll hit the same level as like sports, like rec sports. Like I don't know, did you play rec sports growing up? Like, did you play?
Dude, I played baseball I played basketball and baseball. Well, basketball I stopped in high school, and I just played baseball in high school. So
that shit impacts you, right?
Yeah.
Like you make friends, you learn. Like I think
Same
gaming,
thing with Smash, man. Hell yeah.
Gaming has that same.
So many people I like and care about are from Smash. It's learning, and they're from all over the world and all different walks of life. You know what I mean? When I played baseball, it was all with white middle class kids.
Yeah, it's your boys from school. That's it.
Four doors down. Yeah, hell yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's good to broaden your horizons.
So let's bring it full circle then, because we both got a lot of experience in Smash. We both spent a ton of time on Smash, from all angles, from both playing, from being a part of productions, to talking about it. I mean, we have this whole podcast about it. So how many times have we seen so many people get salty at Smash, and like you see them, they love it one day, and then the next day they're just like, I hate this game. I'm not spending any more time on it. It's worthless. It sucks. Like how many times have we seen that? And it's a really bad kind of attitude that gets taken for something that is a totally different issue.
Well, and I think it mostly sparks when I saw it a lot when Smash 4 first came out, and then I saw it a lot when Ultimate first aside from the honeymoon phase in both those games, once the meta started developing, people just started spewing hate. And I feel like Ultimate, it's even worse because COVID and the only option is playing on Wi-Fi. Like, I feel like that's why a lot of people are romanticizing Smash 4, because there was never an era where you have to play on Wi-Fi, which would have been, oh god, in Smash 4. I don't remember if the internet was worse or better. I feel like it was about the same. So on the Wii U, maybe. I feel like less people had Ethernet, at least too, for sure. I feel like that became more of like a social no-no. Is like, you definitely need Ethernet if you're gonna be playing the online of this game. But yeah, it's easy, especially with social media, to let that kind of snowball and take off into a lot of bad thoughts.
So yeah, because this is what you mentioned to me earlier in the show, and I think it's a good topic, because we got to see this actually out of Leffen, one of the famous tweets, where he has a tier list where he basically just lumps in like, hey, here's Smash Ultimate, game's garbage, and play Melee and stuff, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, for the chat, he made a tier list, fighting game tier list, which was cool. It was cool to hear his thoughts. Obviously, he plays a lot of fighting games, kind of professional. Well, not kind of. He plays them professionally, and he's a really smart guy, well informed, and he doesn't hold any punches. It's one of the reasons I really like him, as a personality. So, the thing with him on this one is I didn't really like how the tier list was made, because one of the categories was that the tier list is just dead. Like the game is just dead, which was so many games, obviously, because once the new game comes out, 99% of the time, except for Melee, the old game dies. You know what I mean? So it was a huge tier list, and he put like 90% of them in dead, which that's a choice. I feel like he should have kind of made that information a little clearer or better. But it was cool because he did go into detail. He went into detail about like he put like Street Fighter 2 is on the list. Like, obviously a game from 1991 is dead. You know what I mean? And like, it's just because there's a million other games on there. But he did explain, for the games that were worth it, he did explain kind of why they died or whatever.
Yeah, and the thing is like that take of Ultimate being dead is such a recent one, and this might actually be a good jumping point, because the community has hit a lot of rough waters recently between all of the recent, basically just bad behavior being called out within the community through social media, and then COVID had killed the local scene, and you already touched on this, but basically that forces people to play online, which is not a really good experience for anyone who's tried it. But it's also not the worst, but when it's the only thing you have compared to like playing the game offline, it looks pretty bad, or feels pretty bad. But the thing is a lot of the stuff now, and I think this sort of goes in the topic of making gaming kind of look like it's time not well spent. But the thing is people feel like they have to hit a marked success. That's a certain pressure. We kind of talked about that. The same thing, the same idea of feeling like you need to be productive at something, spending time on it. And it sort of ignores that whole social aspect that could otherwise happen with gaming. And all at the same time, you get the rumor mill starting around the game. So now you start mixing around people's personal issues and developmental issues, because let's keep in mind, Smash in particular, the community is very young. So, within that, very impressionable. Yeah.
Dude, it's so validating to be like, I'm having a bad experience with this game for X, Y, and Z. I hate this matchup, the Wi-Fi, whatever, or the latency. I hate all this stuff. And then going online and seeing everybody else kind of dogpiling it too. And I feel like at this point, and I've said it before, I've said it on Twitter a bunch of times, I love the game. I think it's
a
one
fantastic
of my
game, dude.
if not my favorite game. I do have gripes with it. It's so far from perfect, of course, but every Smash game has stuff in it that I really, really, really didn't like. Like everyone's kind of romanticizing Smash 4 when I remember at the end of Smash 4 was everyone hating
people
it.
hated Smash 4
hating it. If you didn't hate Cloud, you hated Bayonetta, you hated Ryu, you hated Diddy, you hated one of those. The top tiers were so toxic in that game, and I love them. Like I had a great time. Again, I love Smash 4. I like Ultimate a lot better, but I really did like Smash 4, and I thought towards the end of it, people were done. Even before Ultimate got announced, majors were going down in attendance, and I remember top 8 at Shine was, I think, 6 Bayonettas, maybe 7 Bayonettas in top 8 of Shine, and it was
hard to watch.
And I love the character, but it's not good for the viewership of, it's not good or healthy for the viewership of the game if any characters like that. I loved her. I thought she's awesome. I still do, but that's not the point. I'm one person. I'm definitely in the minority of that one. But the thing is, like, people just romanticize the past, and I think a part of it was maybe at that time in life people had more time to devote to those games and to be better at Smash 4 and to kind of break it down. Or maybe it isn't about the game. It's about the time in life that you were living in. And it's like, I used to get together every other week, and play with or get together every 2 days and play with people offline. And that's like the real fun. It's kind of like everyone likes Super Bowl and like it's fun, but it's hardly about the game for a lot of people. They like the socialization. They like the food, eating the shitty food and drinking the beer or the soda, like anything, man. It's not necessarily about the game. It's about the people and the experience that you have during it. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Super Bowl, a lot of people do watch for the football and all that stuff, and a lot of people do play Smash just for Smash. But I think most of the community, it's about way more than that. Otherwise, this whole Twitter atmosphere wouldn't exist, where people are like, quote unquote, trying to get clout or whatever. Like it's about a lot more than just the game.
Yeah, so that's what we're starting to see, because that whole aspect of beyond the game now has, especially without the locals or anything else to really balance it, it's hit the rumor mill pretty hard, and we've seen now people literally exiled from the community, people sort of being examined within the community, and it's painted this bad picture now. And it really does cater into that narrative, though, that people are trying to defend. Like, where is this a waste of time? Like, why would you keep up with the community if it's toxic? And the reality is, though, most gaming communities right now, they're toxic. And part of that is the anonymity online, and that is the one thing that sort of changed with like Smash being a local game. Was you have a local presence and you have faces to tags and people placing well. You could see who they are, and so if you say something or you do something, it's a lot easier to identify you. Meanwhile, if you go play Overwatch, you go play League, anything, you got people yelling all kinds of nonsense over the loudspeaker or over the comms. You got people.
So you mean like casually though?
So even, this is the thing. If you play a ranked match of any of those games, and if you're solo queuing and if you're just trying to play the game, you have basically, there's going to be at least one teammate on there that does something that you either don't like, bothers you, or just is just outright rude from the start, just trying to be a jerk.
Is this your roundabout way of patting Nintendo on the back for not having mic functionality? Because, dude, I guarantee you it would be there for Smash. 100%.
And I guarantee you Nintendo knows that if it was there for Smash, how bad it could get.
Like, it'd be horrible. It'd be horrible.
Dude, it's
they're smart for that one. It's not, you can get Discord with your boys. It's not a big deal. There's a lot of workarounds if you really want to.
The thing is, there's a lot of fun to be had in gaming. And if you got your mans, you got your people, then you're good. The problem is what Smash hit with this rumor mill, and we could talk about it directly. I was gonna just put the thumbnail, but like even just the content coming out of gaming really makes people scratch their head, because they wonder, what is the value of this? Like, what is the value of knowing you know, if I should like someone's opinion on another streamer. Like, for example, in this example, you had Omni make a whole video about Pokimane, who's
Yeah.
just a female streamer, and the whole video is basically about like, hey, this girl's attractive, mentions nothing about her comment or about her content. It was just like, why is this a thing? Why are we just talking about other
Yeah.
people in streams? Like, tell me something else. Like, to, you know, bring me somewhere.
It's like social commentary, and with him, honestly, like the original video is pretty whatever to me, kind of like expected, you know, from his channel or like that genre of YouTube. Like I felt pretty whatever about it. The one that really got me was when he got mad and fired off an angry tweet, which is the last thing you want to do, especially, dude. He can't be doing. I kind of like the guy, honestly. Like that's how I feel about him. I've never had any, you know, problems with the dude. Like he seems like a pretty smart dude. He seems. I've read like some of his stories about his life and like where he's come from, and I thought he seemed like a pretty well-rounded guy, but he really messed up, man, and that was the thing. And he realized it almost immediately because he deleted. I don't know if you have the tweet or if you can pull it up.
I'm getting it right now. I have the initial tweet that I think sort of
So,
sent him in a
it's kind of funny.
spiral.
It's funny because
It's this one. Like basically
Oh,
11K basically saying, bro, who cares about this content you put out? This 15-minute long video about your honest thoughts about another streamer, and he reacted to it. He reacted.
Yeah.
What did he say here? He basically he's
Well-
taking a break right now. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
and I
he
get
gets
it.
it.
And,
Like,
dude, I get, and him especially because he's been in the eye of the community for so long and he has a huge platform. But that's especially why you can't fuck up in the way that he did. He just can't, because a lot of people who digest his content are the younger people in the Smash community who look up to him because he is a smart guy and he is articulate. And he does, dude. He does break down things in a good way most of the time, in my opinion. And it is, you know, it's a drama YouTube channel, but if you don't know what's going on and you want someone as a guiding force to lead you through things, he was kind of the guy. Like if you're a Smash person trying to figure out like for whatever reason, like the most recent gamer YouTube drama, he could break it down for you. And honestly, I think he did a pretty good job at it. And I think in terms of drama YouTubers, like, yeah, it's not, you know, not my cup of tea or whatever, but we could have done a lot worse than him. But I didn't realize people had such vulgar opinions about him too. Like I thought he was just kind of a whatever. Like
so
that was.
I agree with you. I think he's pretty well presented in some degree. I think he can be good at
He's a
content
smart
creation.
guy.
But the thing is he's playing like the game, the social media game. And
Exactly.
this tweet says it right here. His recent one that was just what was this today? And I feel a little dirty doing this because I'm talking.
Because we're doing it.
Yeah, we're literally doing it. But it kind of
guilty.
We are guilty. I'm not even going to deny it. But the reality is this, and I think,
red-handed, bro.
dude, yeah, it's just what it is. But I think there's something to be taken from this because taking a step back on Twitter for a while, putting more emphasis on my mental health and content creation. You know where to find me. Thanks for the support. And I think that says it all, because think about the mental aspect of this whole thing, right? And then you think about making content about someone where that mental aspect now gets put on someone else. And I think he recognizes this in his own content. Whether he does or doesn't really doesn't matter to me or to anyone for that matter.
He does.
But like the thing is like that's what that kind of content begets. Like if you're going to play the tabloid game, if you're going to talk about other people, it comes back to you where the same thing's going to happen. Like we're doing it right now. It doesn't feel good, but I think this is important because we've had a couple weeks leading into this where all we did was see other people's dirty laundry and bad things going on. And it distracted from anything good that could have possibly otherwise been developing, like within what was an organic community in our sake anyways.
And to me, it's like, yeah, he's playing the game. There's no surprises. Like, you know, he's kind of doing his, I don't want to call it his job, but it's like his, you know, kind of secondary thing that he does well at. Like he has a lot of subscribers and all that shit. So it'd be kind of, I don't want to say dumb for him to not do it. Oh crap, I feel like my internet's going to give out. So be ready for that.
You're good. Say if you do, I'm ready. Don't worry.
Okay, good. All right. You got some jokes or whatever lined up for
my
dude,
I got them ready. Right in my back pocket.
Hey, Koopa, you got a phone in Koopa, man. But what the thing that really bothered me about this, and yeah, like you can make content talking about other content makers. It seems whatever. It's a part of that ecosystem, apparently. I don't really care. I didn't really care one way or the other about his video or his thoughts there. I have my own thoughts on Pokimane or whatever, just from seeing her from a distance. And like, I don't know, she seems to be incredibly smart and adaptive and put together like this huge, she has like employees, dude. She has this whole video about how she like started her business.
She's made it in streaming. She's done the thing that we were talking about in the beginning of this.
And she worked like and I feel like it kind of sucks to, you know, whatever. Either way, that part doesn't really matter. The thing that really bothered me was the tweet he made about the Smash community, because I get it. Smash community is a frustrating place. It's full of a lot of immature kids. But first off, that's your demographic. You should also know that, and I know he knows that, and he should know better than that. For sure.
Agreed.
And I know he's kicking himself because I know he just got mad and made an angry tweet. That's 100% what happened. I'm not excusing him. I'm just saying that's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
The problem here, he's lost trust. Like he said some really fucked up things about, like someone said something hurtful to him, or a lot of people said hurtful things to him, but he's the adult in the situation, bro, which is a reoccurring theme here for what's going on. He's the adult. He's got to act like it. He put out content. People didn't like it or they talk shit. If you put yourself out there like that, it's bound to happen. I'm not saying it's fair and I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying that his response 100% unacceptable, and that's why he took it down. That's why he knows it. And you still have people who defend him. They're like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad. Like, he should. Oh, it's fine. Like, whatever."
Yeah, this is the thing though. It's if you're gonna make slander content, and I don't. This is a problem. I can't even tell if he intends it to be slander or not. But anytime you're basically talking about someone else, there's a good chance you might sort of end up on that. So with that in mind, you see the follow-up video is just like, hey, I'm kind of mad at people calling me out, and then bottom lines it to Smash Twitter is bullying me. When in reality, he tried calling the thing about Pokimane non-Smash related content. To me, I'm just like,
well, it's because
then how are you going to blame this?
Kids.
Yeah, so I get that, and I could even I could appreciate it to the sense where it's just like the Smash community is fresh off of just like going off on everybody else for all of their.
I feel like that was kind of. I feel like that was a part of it.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's just sort of ready.
A lot of pent up stuff going on right
Yeah.
now, and I feel like people already had opinions about him, and then he did something, and everyone kind of decided it was shitty, which like it might have been or it might not have been. Like I feel like that one's more up for debate. Like. I think it's more like annoying or like not your taste.
But
I don't think you like.
Is it then really the Nintendo fan base / Smash community, or is it just gaming community, or is it just people who are reacting to sort of tabloid content? Because the problem is we're in an era where there's just so much bullshit news in the airwaves that no one even knows what's what. So when you see someone outright just making sort of like, here's my opinion and this comes across as official and this is going to dictate your opinion on the person I'm telling you about. That's tough. You got to expect that to come back around at you, and that's the trick.
With the Smash community too, you got to expect that. Especially, this isn't the first time he's got hit by them, and I'm not saying that makes it okay, but he had to have known that there's gonna be some bad backlash, and it was just one dude said, "Who gives a shit?" And then people started popping off, either defending him or not. And at that point, you just got to let it rock, man. He knows that. I think he's also reached a point of frustration and pent up. And again, I'm not excusing the guy. I'm just saying, like, I get where he's coming from. The community can definitely be frustrating at some points.
Sure.
I don't know if this was just some weird tipping point or not for him. It was definitely a very, very out of line comment that he made, and like he just attacked back, which is the last thing you want to do. Like, you just can't do it.
Well, when you attack back, it sort of implies that maybe something struck a nerve, and if it struck a nerve, then maybe there's something there. And I think that he is taking the break, and I hope it serves him well, because he puts together good videos. He does.
I think he does too,
So
and I think he's a thoughtful guy. Like, I don't. But again, I mean, it kind of brings me back to this. Like, do we really know these fucking people online? Who knows? Maybe he's a huge scumbag. I have no idea. I don't think that's not the vibe he gives off to me, and that's all I can really go by. So that's it, man. Like, that's about it. I do really think he fucked up, though. He did apologize immediately and delete the tweet and say, he did like the things that a person with remorse should do. But at this time, there's such a script to apologizing on the internet that it's not that I don't believe him or whatever, but it's just I always have this hesitation, man, when it comes to believing people on the internet now. It just is what it is. And with him, it hurt my trust in him, because I'm like, I never thought he'd say some stupid shit like that. Yeah, he might make some YouTube video that's annoying or that people don't like, and whatever, that is what it is. But saying that was, he knew that was wrong, man. That dragged people into it that really didn't deserve. That didn't hurt them. That didn't, and they're victims.
That's the thing, and then you want to call it non-Smash related content, and it is non-Smash related content technically, but it's got that same wave of sort of stinky tabloid kind of going on to it.
Yeah.
But either way, we could probably drop that, because there is other good stuff going on in the community. The kind of stuff that we were talking about earlier, some productive things, so to speak, because GOML Online was this weekend. And I got to tell you, as far as online majors go, this was the first one that actually felt like kind of like a major, I guess. Like, it felt like I was watching an event, and it was enjoyable. And I think that in itself is very worth talking about, because it reminds me, and hopefully a lot of other people who checked it out, and if you haven't, go check it out on YouTube, some of the videos. It felt like I was, watching Smash competitively again. Feels good, Presentation was nice. All the people you want to see there, we got to listen to you a ton. Like, there was all kinds of good stuff.
Sorry about that, bro. It is what it is.
Hey man, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think a big part of that too. And I shouted these guys out a lot on the cast and all that stuff. But I think like the production was so good, and I think we're just getting better, honestly, at casting these events and producing and hosting them online. I think that makes a huge difference, honestly.
Yeah, the thing
So,
is I think people are still figuring out the online formula, especially from like even production ends, because I could even tell you on my end, things are change all the time in terms of like what you have access to and in terms of like production stuff and the things you can do with a stream remotely instead of just being there one on one. And there's a lot going on. So being able to showcase that, I'll try and find some VODs. They did a good job though. They got some player pictures in there. They got the commentators, just
yeah,
being regular commentators. It worked.
honestly, a lot of the like production is a huge part of it, but a lot of it too is that like the meta has kind of settled for online Smash. Before it was just kind of like nobody cares, which obviously there's
You're
still
right.
some of that going on.
Hmm.
That's not going to go away just because enough time has passed, but it's getting more normalized. And I think there's like a certain not official rankings, but like there's rankings and like people know who to watch for and what upsets are. And now we got some storylines going and commentators are hitting a stride online, in my opinion. And things are kind of just cooking. It's always going to be how it is in Smash, man. It's going to be things happen and we roll with them and figure it out on the other side. It's been that way since forever, since, looking for Nintendo support or looking for X, Y, and Z. Like, just, we just got to keep going with it. And it's going to get better as we go and get the right people in the right spots and, and
Yeah,
just
there,
do
there
it,
there
man.
is an online ranking now, and I thought that was interesting because someone pointed out that like ESAM was both 14th on the most recent PGR and also on this Wi-Fi rank. And the cool part about the Wi-Fi rank is you're right that the meta is sort of settling, and even people that we see on the weekly on this channel on DNA, like we're seeing them in the results. Like Sinji's been the DNA a few times.
Yep.
Colonies has been the DNA a few times. Those guys are both top 8 placers in these. And then you see other guys getting good results, like your Web JPs and all those guys. And these guys are now ranked like Wi-Fi. It's like the grind still pays off, and there is still that payback, or basically that reward for playing well and for grinding, despite the
Mhm.
headaches with Wi-Fi. It's still alive, and that's what people forget. So with all the tabloid shit that goes on and all the other news that gets reported, like there's still people playing Smash and still trying hard and doing cool
Yeah,
stuff. Like there's people doing really cool stuff, like
dude.
Tweak won with
Tweak.
Diddy.
That
Like
was
come
the
on,
storyline,
how
man.
cool is that?
He beat Esam with Diddy. I mean, obviously it's online and Pika gets way worse online and all that shit, but it's still, man, at least Tweak gave us a really good storyline, to work with, and all the other players too.
Yeah, man, and that stuff all has a value to it. And this is the thing is we talk about people making money in gaming, like this is how it goes. These events are going to continue and they need to continue, and despite whether they're live or not, they're going to get the attention, especially if they're as well put together as like a GOML. Because how many entrants were in GOML? It was over. What was I know it was at least 2,000.
22 58, I think it
Yeah,
capped.
like that's a ton of people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And the thing is it's really healthy for a scene that's sort of been dying for events. Like it's good to get
Yeah.
people playing. Like
And
this is it.
that brings it back to our original point. Like, say what you will about the game, you can hate on it and dump on it, but dude, we still got top players entering. We got over 2,000 people entering majors and all this stuff, and it's just, I feel like things are as good as they can be right now. Obviously, you can always improve and do better, but I think we've really hit a stride recently, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and the one thing that I definitely want to point out as far as the Wi-Fi play goes is those guys, there's a whole set fan base of people I feel like just discovering the game through Wi-Fi without the locals, and the attention being all put there. Whatever happens with locals in the future is going to happen, but like it's still new people figuring out the game and new people discovering the community and new people making friends through the game, and that's really the value. It's right there.
Mm-hmm.
You could still do these things in that game. You could still have a little server with your friends where you're just grinding out. Like it doesn't always have to be try hard. I recommend to anyone who's feeling burnout with this game or feeling like they're not getting the same feeling that they're getting from it live. Play some items with your friends. Play some item free
Hell
for
yeah,
alls.
man.
Have fun with the game. Like
That's
play
what I
it.
loved about the Alpha Red tournaments, dude. Not only was there money, which was dope and always generates enough natural hype, but dude, he tried to just have fun.
He
Like that
did.
was the point. We all played Smash at one point just for the fun.
Yeah, and there's a lot in that, and that goes right along with our original topic that we were talking about today, which was like the time spent on gaming. And the reality is, the time spent on gaming is really social. You know, like there's
It can
ways
be, yeah.
it can be, and it's the same thing in this. I want to loop it right back around. It's all your intent in what you go into all these things with, because you could go and you could totally just like absorb into a game and not really pay attention to anything else, and it's probably unhealthy if you're just doing that hours and hours a day. But the thing is there is an infrastructure to this. It's just like anything else. It's like you go pick up a football in a some sort of rec league, and you got a team, and you play with those guys, and you get to socialize, you get to work a little bit. Like gaming might not give you that necessarily fitness aspect, at least not yet. You never know what goes on with the VR and AR stuff, but you know there's still that whole degree of spending your time either with other people potentially, or just grinding. So, you know, I think
Mhm.
the gatherings around video games are very significant, and they're going to continue to be. And I think events like GOML Online illustrate that really well, because that had a whole portion that you know, it was pretty consistent, like 2,000 to 5,000 viewers for the day. Like that's a lot of people
Mhm.
just chilling and kind of vibing out with some Smash. And with the meta sort of settling, we do finally get to see some of the impacts of patch 8.0, which we sadly didn't really talk about because it got mixed in with everything over the past like month or so. But seeing a tournament play out with 8.0 was kind of interesting, because you got some new characters with a lot of new things that they can do. So yeah, there's still enjoyment to be had. Game's definitely not dead,
Absolutely, yeah.
that's for sure.
Yeah, and for me, it was kind of reigniting that, love for the game and love for commentary and stuff that I've just been missing between COVID, transitioning us just to the internet age, basically. Um, that like Wi-Fi just isn't for me. I really appreciate and love the social aspect of Smash and being there, and even for commentary, it's like I like to translate the feeling of the venue through the mic. Like that's one of my favorite things. If people are getting excited and people are seeing things that they care about, I want to bring that home to people. It's not really thinking Wi-Fi. I mean, obviously you can get excited and things can be cool on Wi-Fi, but it's just different, dude. And making the adjustment and trying to figure out where to go next. Like I'm glad that GOML and everyone else is sticking with it so that we can figure out where to go from here. Because the game of the community, man, where we're at right now, it's still a great place.
Yeah. Well, dude, like even like I think about my weekly on Thursdays, like, and you were there just last week. It was great to have
Yeah.
you, and even with the cams, it's just like any other stream. Like you put it out, you put yourself out there as making a piece of content, and you chill with people for the night. And there's a value in that, man. Some people get a lot of comfort just hanging out and hearing about Smash, especially with someone enjoying talking about Smash or playing
Yeah.
Smash. Like that translates. If you're unhappy playing the game, or forcing yourself for some reason, then that goes right back to intent. Just reevaluate why you're doing it, what you could be doing to spend your time better, and adjust accordingly. But it's all balance.
All balance, man. I think that's the message for the day, really.
Hell yeah, man. I think that's a great message pretty much any day. But
For all the time, I totally agree.
it's a really good message. So I don't know, man. Do you have any last thoughts on today?
No, that was about it, dude. I'm really glad we covered these topics. I think they were great. And yeah, man, I like talking about more things video games and more things, Smash. And yeah, it was great hanging out and talking to you today. I definitely miss Koopa, but
Yeah,
the show must go on
the
sometimes.
show must go on, and as you guys know, we are working through some I don't want to say format changes, but I guess I'll say format changes. Where we're going to be trying out some new stuff, especially with these webcams and everything, figuring out cool stuff we could do with those. But meanwhile, if you guys couldn't tell, kind of trying to keep the topics not as Smash focused, because we got so fixated on this little niche within a niche, and it's tricky. So I do actually really enjoy topics like wasting time on gaming, and thankfully that one popped up in the news this past week. But if you guys have any topics, don't be shy. It's really easy to reach us. You could always add us on Twitter, the Masterhand Gaming Twitter account, pretty easy to find. It's linked under this stream. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, you could find the link through YouTube or in the description. So make sure you follow that for all the updates. I'm going to try and actively do a better job posting clips from these podcasts, and maybe time stamping the VODs a little bit more, so they're a little bit more accessible. It's a little like extra work on my hands, but I don't really mind, because I'm actually starting to enjoy the discussions again, because it's not just Smash centric. So with that in mind, yeah, if you guys, anyone watching or listening, got any ideas, always feel free to drop them in to our, either hit the DMs or just add us, whatever the case may be. So with that in mind, you could find all this stuff, if you are watching on YouTube, you could find it on Spotify and vice versa. If you like the content, if you're vibing with it, make sure you do the like, follow, subscribe thing. I feel like I gotta say it, man, because anytime I hear my favorite YouTubers say that, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'll like your video. So,
Dude, yeah, me too. Honestly, it
I'm like,
works.
oh
Like,
yeah,
at
I
first,
forgot.
when I first was like watching YouTube and like, you know, kind of following people and shit, I was like, that's so lame. Like, you know, but it works, man. It does. Like, oh, just make sure you're subscribed real quick. You know, it's kind of like a
Yeah, no big deal. Like, there's no one has a gun to your head.
It's cool. It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it costs
yeah.
nothing to support me, so you know,
Yeah,
just
you
go
know,
for it.
I won't spam your inbox. It's okay. That was always a concern, especially with like a Smash channel where you're just like releasing VOD after VOD after VOD, and you're just like, holy shit, I don't want to see these. But
Yeah.
I hide most of them. The average tournament will have 2 to 3 VODs within a news feed, and that's once a week, and that's the worst you'll really get. So with that though, yeah, make sure you support. There's also a lot of changes on the back end for Master Hand in general, so stay tuned on that. Some sponsorship type stuff, so that's exciting.
Yes, sir.
Hopefully it will translate to many more events, but hold on, let me just write our little closing message here. Because yeah, that's pretty much it, man. I feel like this was a good day, and I'm also glad we did this, by the way.
Me too, dude. Yeah, I just want to be consistent with the uploads. Like I said to you before we hopped on, it's just when my favorite podcasts aren't consistent, I get mad at them. So I think we should just follow, you know, like golden rule, treat people like you want to be treated. So consistent uploads, the show must go on. If I'm not here 1 week, then it's got to go on. The only one you're the exception.
Yeah, and I don't mind.
But you have to do it. You have to do it because it's like your job, though. So I feel pretty good. About that.
Yeah, it is my channel after all. My name is on the tax returns. So yeah, guys, I do appreciate you. Thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see y'all tomorrow or today, depending when you're watching this for Smash. But other than that, we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you guys later. I love that animation at the end. Oh, sorry, I don't know if I was still live. That's